again, everyone. Let us continue our study of the remaining Hermetic principles of the Kabbalion. Principle number 4. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Everything is and everything isn't at the same time. Everything is on a continuum and has an opposite. Movement, creation, and comprehension are generated between two opposites. The great fourth Hermetic principle, polarity, embodies the truth that all manifested things have two sides, two aspects, two poles, and a pair of opposites, with degrees between the two extremes. The old paradoxes, which have perplexed the mind of men, are explained by an understanding of this principle. Man has always recognized something akin to this principle and has endeavored to express it by such sayings and aphorisms such as the following. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half-truths. Every truth is half false. Two sides to everything. There is a reverse side to every shield. Polarity implies the opposite of something, or what I call the other half of something. Opposites are extreme because without each other, they do not exist as separate, observable experiences. It is hard to know myself without knowing another. I cannot love another until I first find love myself. They each go hand in hand to create an experience. Happy and sad are extremes of how we feel. Hot and cold are extremes of temperature. Imagination and logic are extremes of thinking. These poles are illusions of the mind. They are extremes held apart to create an observable reality. We can become aware of the poles in our lives and the swing we make from one another to stabilize them. It is important to remember that perceiving polarity is subjective and not universal. When you are aware of polarity, it is possible to choose a pole instead of it being chosen for you. It is possible to maintain it instead of having it maintain you. Principle number 5. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has tides, and all things rise and fall. As if a pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. In all rhythm, there is recurring motion, change, and activity. Everything comes back in due time. Rhythm perpetuates the phenomenon of time. This is why history tends to repeat itself. The principle of rhythm manifests in everything there is a back and forth expression, and or an up and down of a flow. It is like a cycle of beginning and ending, and then starting and ending again, switching back and forth. If one is to understand this principle, then you can grasp the ebb and flow of things in the world to merge and transform with the flow. Human emotions will have a flow of an up and down cycle. And this cycle depends on the energy of each person. When this cycle is up, one tends to be optimistic and creatively active, engaging in their life's passions, dreams, and aspirations. On the other hand, when the cycle goes down, it is generally a time of rest and a time to take care of your emotions. As for when the cycle reaches its trough, an individual may experience negative emotions. We may consider that person to be at a low in their life. In our work, economy, culture, politics, and the world as well, there is a cycle in each moment. For an individual to harness the nature of this cycle, catch up when the cycle moves up, and don't try to demand or push anything when the cycle is down. The seasons on planet Earth are also an example of the principle of rhythm. There is a time when everything comes to life in the spring, thrives in the summer, and ceases to live as vibrantly in the fall, and eventually dies in the winter. Principle number 6 is known as the principle of causation. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law unrecognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Nothing ever merely happens. Everything happens for a reason. There is no such thing as chance. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, and an effect from every cause. Trismegistus explains that everything happens according to law, and that nothing ever merely happens, as there is no such thing as chance. That while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. Hermeticists understand that the art and methods of rising above ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to the environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves. Heredity, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about alike. Pawns on the chessboard of life. But the ones who have mastered it, the ones who rise to the plane above, they are the ones that have the capacity to dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, and in turn, the environment surrounding them. They become movers instead of pawns. They help play the game of life, instead of being played and moved about by the will of others and their environment. They use this principle to their advantage, rather than being a tool of this principle. Master Hermeticists obey the principle of causation of the higher planes in order for them to help rule on their own plane. In this statement, there is a condensed wealth of Hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. And lastly, the seventh Hermetic principle, the one that ties everything in existence together. This principle is known as the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has masculine and feminine principles. It manifests on all planes. No creation, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without the principle of gender. Gender allows for expansion through procreation. The seventh principle states that all things have masculine and feminine qualities. The two sexes can be thought of as a physical manifestation of this principle. But as we come to understand on an internal level, every human being holds masculine and feminine energies. An analogy could be to acknowledge the actions of the left and the right brain. Masculine and feminine energy exists not only in the physical plane, but in the mental and spiritual plane as well. The unity of these two energies is essential for creation, and when an individual has a balance of both, they shall be better able to apply all of these principles for maximum benefit. The principle of gender embodies the truth that it is manifested within everything. The masculine and feminine principles are ever at work. On the physical plane, the principle of gender manifests as sex. On higher planes, it takes on higher forms. But nonetheless, the principle itself is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without gender. An understanding of its laws will help throw light on many subjects that have perplexed the minds of men. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contains the two elements or principles of this great principle of gender. Within it, him or her. Every male thing has a female element to it also, and every female also exhibits and harbors a valence of male counterpart. If you were to understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation and regeneration, it is imperative to understand this Hermetic principle, as it contains the solution for the many mysteries of life and existence. I would like to thank you all for your participation in these riveting sessions. We will end Season 1 of Macrocosmic Reverberance here. Until our paths cross again, Ad Astra, to the stars.